Bird to your mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just the
duo.
Feathery brethren, weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Both and Zach kicking it cooler than
two.
Penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Both and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping.
We are going to rip out the hearts of other podcasts. We're going to bite off their eyeballs. We're going to start every segment watching the scene from The Last of the Mohicans where the guy takes a bite out of the other guy's heart. We may not be good, but we're going to be nasty. We're going to reflect the blue-collar nature of this city. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends. It is Wednesday evening as you watch this. Who knows when you listen to this, but it is Wednesday afternoon as we record this. Wulf, Zach Berman, and a first-time guest, a DFOP of some degree, and a very highly regarded scribe, E.J. Smith of the Philadelphia Inquirer. How are you, E.J.?
That was quite an intro. I am maybe not as well regarded as you would suggest, but I am a loyal listener, and I'm excited to be on the podcast. I appreciate you guys having me, even if the motivation may have been slightly tainted, if you will.
I don't know what you mean. As you say, you are a loyal listener. I think this is a clear declaration of your loyalty to this show as the best Eagles podcast there is, as everybody knows. So we appreciate that.
No comment.
Okay, Zach, how are you?
I'm doing great. Now we're picking this up midway through, so we've already established how I am, right?
No, this is the open of the show.
Oh, this is the open of the show.
When we said that
doing well. Excited for this podcast then.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I did the hello, everybody. You know that's the...
I didn't know if you're saying hello, everyone out of break, or being ironic because we're here together. But okay, we've established that. Should we reset and do it over again?
No,
okay, it's live.
This is another example of you not listening to what I said.
Okay.
EJ, obviously, we can get to some EJ stuff. We can get to the real reason you're here. But let's open this by talking football because I know that's what Zach wants to do. The Jalen Hurts obfuscation. Now we could send it to the Stone Cold Newsman, but why don't we just get into this? This idea that there's a chance that he could play this week. He's called day to day. We don't know if Gardner Minshew is going to play. What do you make of this whole situation, EJ? Do you buy it?
I think it's gamesmanship. I mean, the way you should look at it is like Nick Sirianni has every reason to lie about this, and most other people don't have every reason to lie about this. It's a competitive advantage. Nick Sirianni is big on competitive advantages, as we've known from watching, talking to him the last couple of years. So no, I don't think he's going to play. We were just at practice. He was not. Jalen Hurts was not at practice. And I do think that, honestly, we can get into this later if you want, but I do think that actually Jalen not playing could be beneficial for the Eagles because they were going to have to be kind of coy about this game in the event that the Cowboys, see the Cowboys in the playoffs at some point. Now they can kind of just go Gardner Minshew game, throw whatever Gardner likes out there, kind of keeps the games a little bit muddy, if they do see each other in the playoffs. But no, I don't expect to see Jalen this Saturday.
Zach, what about you?
I don't expect to see Jalen until the playoffs, to be honest with you. Now, I say that understanding, as Nick Sirianni very bluntly stated, he's built differently than Nick and you and me, maybe not EJ.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Jalen, they say he's that's true. They say he's a fast healer, number one. But in addition, he's someone who likes to play, who wants to be out there. He's in the middle of an MVP race. Perhaps part of this is protecting Jalen from Jalen, right? Or even placating him and making it. Yeah, and it's like, Jalen, we're going to do everything you can to play. But then when you get to it, because if you recall, before the Jets game last year that Minshew started, Jalen declared on Wednesday of that week that he was going to play. And then Jalen, of course, did not play. They had a bye week the following week. So Jalen missed 2 weeks effectively. But Jalen was saying that he was going to play. So I think if they tell Jalen, no, you're on the shelf until the playoffs, I don't know if Jalen would take that very well, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are like a million reasons why it makes no sense for Jalen Hurts to play this week. the magic number is 1. They don't need to win this game. They could give him 2 weeks off, and if they lose both games, then he could play Week 18 if they need that win. We're talking about the throwing shoulder of a quarterback, not only in terms of like not messing that up for what could be a Super Bowl run, but this is a guy you're probably going to pay in the offseason. Zach, you mentioned the other day that Nick Sirianni's been through the Andrew Luck thing. It's a different injury, but you're still talking about the quarterback's shoulder. And for the reasons you stated, like you might see this Cowboys team again. It would be like borderline malpractice if he plays this week, I feel.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I just feel like, especially with that first Cowboys game, was the Cooper Rush game, and now that film is kind of muddied. I think you give the Cowboys 60 minutes of Gardner Minshew tape to chew on, if in the event that you see them down the road. It's just I don't really see any of the upside in it. I mean, I think that we can talk about if he's out for the remainder of the regular season, comes back in the divisional round with what would it be, 4 or 5 weeks off? I think you could start to talk about that. That rust versus rest factor. But, I mean, the Eagles have a track record of prioritizing rest going into these situations, and I do think that they probably, don't see it the way that maybe some of the fans do, where it's like, okay, he needs to be able to get back into a rhythm. I could see him getting a half against the Giants if he's healthy, but, more than that, it's hard to see it.
I mean, he was going to be rusty regardless, right? Because if you were going to sit him Week 18, there was going to be 2 weeks there anyway. So I don't put as much into the rust factor as you're hearing that.
Vacation guy.
Yes.
You will not take like 4 days off riding because you feel like you're going to lose your touch. You don't feel that there's any rust factor with Jalen Hurts taking a month off.
Well, there could be injury effects, right? I mean, I think those are real, but my point about the rust factor is it's if you get the first round bye, you obviously are not playing the week before.
Yeah.
And then you probably aren't playing Week 18 anyways. If he was completely healthy, I can't imagine they would have thrown him out there unless there was a statistical benchmark that he was trying to achieve. So when I say what's the difference between 3 weeks and 5 weeks, where obviously 2 weeks is the difference, but still you're going to be relatively rusty there. So
Did you say the difference between 2 weeks and 5 weeks is 2 weeks?
No, 3 weeks and 5 weeks. I said 3 weeks.
We're not math majors. Yeah.
I said 3. I mean, we're big.
Yeah.
Did I say 2?
I thought you said 3, but
thank you. Yeah. You see, now you know what it's like. Where the other day, by the way, I was listening back to the podcast and I made a very benign statement where I said a day without or a day with pizza is better than a day without pizza. And Bo was like, well, what if you could get $1 million on the day without pizza? Well, yeah, but that was like, it was totally unrelated to the point that I was making. In any event, I'm not putting as much stock into the rust factor. I do put stock into what you were saying about what they were showing or what they would show, because it would behoove the Eagles not to empty the cupboard. And you mentioned this being a Gardner Minshew game. What a spot for Gardner Minshew, pending free agent, who has started games in his career, but this is a decent free agent quarterback class for like that type of quarterback, for kind of the fringe starter type. Yeah. And if you're in this situation, you're going up against a really good defense. And last year when he went 20 of 25, he didn't have A.J. Brown. Like, they're still going to play their starters, I presume. So I'm pretty intrigued to see a Gardner Minshew game in this spot.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about, like, I think there's a chance that today at practice is the very first time that Gardner Minshew throws a pass to A.J. Brown. Like, all summer, never. Mm-hmm. Like, Jalen Hurts is the only guy. I mean, that stuff doesn't really matter. It's A.J. Brown. But it's just funny. Like, even A.J. Brown yesterday was like, yeah, like, I'd be lying to you if I said I know, like, what his strengths are. I barely play with the guy.
They got that Mississippi connection, though.
Yeah, how far do you think that takes, though?
I mean, you never know, right?
Okay, let's get Jamar Chaney out here and see what happens.
Okay. Sorry, I thought it was a good line to say Gardner's from Brandon, Mississippi. And you have, of course, A.J. Brown from Starkville, Mississippi. Yes. So
gotta play Zach's strengths here,
DJ, what's your favorite part of the podcast?
My favorite part of the podcast, actually, it is the personal questions you ask Zach that make him uncomfortable.
Don't
encourage him.
Don't encourage him.
Yes, I do enjoy that.
Yes.
Zach, you've told the story of BJ keeping you up late at night. Do you want to let the listeners in on that?
It's quite an introduction to that story.
EJ wrote a terrific story on the Philadelphia Inquirer leading up to the Texans game, and Jalen Hurts' background in Houston. And yeah, it's a story I would have liked to write, and he did a good job with it. And so as someone who is competitive on the beat, it kept me up at night. Now, I've quite literally kept EJ up at night for
Let's get into this.
for different reasons. EJ used to have to edit my newsletter when I was at the Inquirer, so I suppose it serves me right that I lost sleep because of EJ, because EJ's literally been held back from sleeping because I've been taking too long to write.
What was that experience like for you?
Honestly, and I'm not saying this because I'm on the pod, and I don't want to start any interpod wars here either, which we'll get to later. But I've looked up to Zach for a long time, so honestly,
Not literally though.
The odds that he didn't make that joke.
I did. I was not going for this idea, I promise. But no,
Thank you,
I
EJ.
really did enjoy the Early Birds newsletter. Rest in peace to that newsletter. So
How clean was the copy, though?
very clean. Zach's copy's good. You should know that, right?
It's fine.
Yeah.
My copy's clean. Okay, my copy is clean.
Good copy.
A little what?
Is it most of the time?
Well, most of the time, meaning if it's not like 3 a.m. and we're exchanging emails. Yes.
Okay. Always happy to do the newsletter.
Give us a little bit of the broad strokes of the EJ Smith rise. How did you get here? How did you get to editing the newsletter? And how did you get to keeping Zach up late at night?
I wouldn't call it a rise necessarily. I went to Temple, and when I graduated, if you knew me in college, you would have been like, this guy's kind of weird because for a lot of reasons, but for the most,
I think everybody is a little bit weird.
but mostly because I was like obsessed with like making sure I had a job when I graduated, and like I just did anything I could to make
That's a good goal.
it was the goal.
Yeah.
And so basically what that turned into is I was working part-time high schools for the Inquirer. And like, my determination was like, I'm going to just never leave the building and hope that they're like, hey, this guy needs a job. Like, once he graduates, which worked out in my favor. So I was like, I did a lot of like little odd jobs at the Inquirer for a long time, like high schools, copy editing, production, newsletter editing, stuff like that. So I was on the desk for a long time, and then eventually I started covering like recruiting and high school sports, and then eventually moved up into covering general assignment like pro sports.
Go ahead, keep talking.
Keep talking.
So eventually, I was covering the Eagles in a general assignment capacity, and then fortunately, I must have done okay because they decided, all right, this guy's just going to stick on Eagles, and yeah, now I compete with you guys, which is exciting because I've been reading both of you guys for a long time, and hopefully I can keep you up at night every once in a while because otherwise I don't think I'm doing my job right. So
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So no, I feel bad asking personal questions. I would like to keep professional.
I'm an open book.
Okay, so I actually think, because there was a running joke on the podcast dating back, I think, to maybe Sirianni's hire or something, when Bo and Sheila would ask me, how did so-and-so meet his wife? Okay, and I got to say, you have one of the great stories for how you met your wife.
I do. So I met my wife as a sophomore in high school. We went to middle school together, but I didn't actually know her until she got a job at the local ice cream shop, which I was already working at.
Yep.
And my best friend at the time had a real crush on her. So like, I'll never forget, like she walks into the staff meeting, and like afterward, he's like, oh, she's like gorgeous, isn't she? I was like,
You cucked your best friend?
well, he had multiple years opportunity. And like when I don't want to get too much into this, but
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
he
we're here.
wanted to name his little sister after my wife when they were in elementary school together. But yeah, so I gave him plenty of window, plenty of opportunity. And then when we went to college, actually, like Julia and I had become very, very good friends. Like, we were really close all through high school. And then it was almost like the second we went away to college, it was like, yeah, we should start dating. And it was like the most inconvenient time for us to start dating, because she went to the University of Delaware, I went to Temple. So we were like 45 minutes away.
It could have been less convenient.
True. But the foundation of our relationship was formed literally at an ice cream shop. Which is kind of fun because like when we go back, we're like little celebrities. Like people are like, people who met here, like, we did our engagement photos there.
That's
so
fun.
So yeah, it's a fun story. This place is called Swallens in Eagleville, Pennsylvania. It's like
Good plug. Good plug.
And is that other guy still your best friend?
We're friends. We're not best friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he probably harbors a grudge.
I don't think so. I think he's happy for us. He's got a beautiful wife and kids now. I think we both won.
Okay, fair enough.
Happy with how it turned out.
Now, we talked about this on a cameo that was delivered to you by a friend. So, in another example of your fandom and support of this show, that a friend of yours got you a cameo from us. But Zach talked about the ice cream. You didn't get to enjoy the smells. You're a man with no smell.
Pre-COVID, no sense of smell, which is something that you roasted me for in the cameo. Shout out to my friend Dan because he's hurting right now. I beat him in fantasy football,
which was the impetus for the cameo, right?
I think he also wanted me to just feel bad because I was down with COVID and kick me while I'm down. One quick funny story about the fantasy football thing. The bet was actually I made a bet with him that if I beat him in the playoffs, I could name his soon-to-be-born daughter the middle name. I could just have the middle name.
Okay.
And he told me that he could have my dogs if he won. So we never signed off on it, but I would like to hold him to that publicly now. So.
And when are we gonna name the middle name? What are we thinking?
My first name is actually Ernest, and I thought Ernest.
As we know from former sponsor Ernest.
Yes. Which it was always unsettling hearing you guys say Ernest on the podcast.
But not as unsettling as it is for Elliott Shore Parks every time the press box announcer is like, Elliott on the kick. And he's every time he's looking around.
Like, I am, yeah. So I was thinking Ernestine might be a good one. I also think that Everett would be fun because I've been trying to trade him George Kittle all season. He keeps saying no, and he lost in part because of Everett. It's his tight end, and he's not the best at that position. So those are the two leading candidates for little Lonsdale baby.
Okay. What about Marissa?
Marissa's a great
Do we know
name.
is it going to be a girl or?
So I think it's a girl. Yes.
Okay.
So Marissa's a great name. Could be Marissa.
Okay. What did you have to say, Zach?
What do I have to say?
Yeah, look, you were just trying to jump in earlier.
No, I was trying to steer the conversation back toward football, but EJ seems to be enjoying the personal question. So
now you played a little high school ball.
I did a little. His emphasis on a little. I played 1 year of varsity.
EJ has something in common with both the quarterback and the head coach here. Coach's son.
Well, wow.
Coach's kid. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Knows how they're wired.
Exactly. Coach for pretty much my entire
And you only got 1 year. He only got 1 year out of you?
I played for my dad. I think neither of us wanted that. Okay. I played at the crosstown rival with my dad.
Oh.
And they beat us every year.
So you are familiar with family rivalries and crossing sides. That's interesting. That's interesting. Let's keep that in mind.
So whenever Nick
a classic turncoat, it turns out.
I don't want to use the term rationalizes. Whenever Nick explains that he can coach Jalen Hurts tough because he's a coach's son, do you nod in agreement or do you say that's a cliche?
I don't think it's a cliche. I mean, you have to have thick skin to be a coach's kid, and I don't know if I have thick skin, but I can understand the
So I'm actually curious about this. When do you think that shift occurs? Because maybe it's like a stereotype, but when you're in Little League, you always think, oh, well, the coach's kid, he plays shortstop. Like, is that a fair assumption to make sometimes that like the coach's kid almost gets favored? But then it kind of shifts, I think, when you're in, I'll let you tell it. Middle school? Okay.
Yeah, probably middle school is when you start getting chewed out for the things you're doing wrong. And you just I think the biggest thing that being a coach's kid is is your dad or your mom or your dad is really good at yelling at people. I think that is really.
Was your father a yelling type coach?
Not shouting and screaming. It's talking through the teeth angry for him.
Okay, so he wasn't Sirianni versus Washington last year.
No. He's less boisterous, I would say.
Okay.
But he gets his rage across just fine, I would say.
Okay. If you want to talk a little football.
Do you prefer this or do you prefer the football talk?
Whatever you guys want. We can talk some football. Yeah.
How do you expect the offensive game plan to change with Gardner Minshew instead of Jalen Hurts, if that's what it is?
I mean, I expect if you look at the average depth of target between the two, Gardner's a lot shorter throughout his career. He is. Obviously, the run game changes a lot. I could see the effect lingering not just in quarterback running stats, but just the overall rushing stats because of the way that Jalen Hurts frees the backside on his read and stuff like that. Although I was talking to Jordan Mailata about it, and he seemed to minimize that possibility a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, he said like, Gardner can still take off, but I mean, the respect that you have to pay.
I think it would be very funny if they just came out with like Gardner Minshew runs on the first 3 plays.
Oh, he's keeping it. If you're not going to respect it, he's going to pull it.
Well, I think the first game he played in Jacksonville, he had 9 carries. I could be wrong.
Only you would know that.
I should have looked that up.
Don't look at us like we also looked that up. Like,
okay. Sorry. Proceed.
Yeah, in the passing game, I mean, I think that the A.J. Brown slant and the Dallas Goedert tight end screen, those are quarterback agnostic plays to a certain degree. And I think that Minshew's strengths align with those types of plays. So I think a lot of the staples that we've seen from the Eagles offense will probably be pretty similar. The biggest difference is that I don't know if Minshew airs it out down the sideline the way that Jalen Hurts has been able to do this year. When they have those one-on-one matchups, Jalen's been really, really good at hitting receivers on go routes or post routes. That might be a little bit less so with Gardner, but I think he makes up for it in other areas. So I honestly think, I'm not going to give you guys a score prediction because I don't actually have one yet. But I do think the Eagles have a good chance to win the game even with Gardner.
Yeah, I think they have a chance too. I think the biggest personnel difference to me is because Jalen Hurts is not there to change the numbers in the Eagles' favor. I think you probably do see more like 12 personnel, more 2 tight end sets to try to help them out in the running game. But I don't know. I mean, it's a funny. I mean, this is not an original thing to say, but it is an ironic test of the Micah Parsons thesis against Micah Parsons to see how this offense does with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny that Hurts versus the team debate. We're about to find out what the team looks like without Hurts. I mean, they're still a really talented group. Gardner Minshew hasn't thrown to these receivers, but these receivers aren't the most difficult group of guys to throw to. I mean, they create a lot of separation, and again, a lot of the stuff that AJ can do underneath stuff, I think it will really complement what Gardner does.
So you mentioned before that the Eagles could see the Cowboys in the playoffs, and it certainly looks that way if the Cowboys are the 5 seed and there's no upset in the first round. I paused there because I'm trying to think of the exact terminology for post game, even though I've been on this podcast now since 2019.
Woodpecker, you rather?
How many turkeys?
Okay.
If I gave you all the teams in the NFC, how many turkeys would you disperse for the team most likely to be able to beat the Eagles? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's always on a scale of 100, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I would give the Brock Purdy-led 49ers the lead on that.
So this is who you think is most likely to beat them, or like
to be
who
able to
beat
beat
them?
Who are you most worried about?
Okay.
So I'm leaving to me to screw up games that make that I'm not even sure what they're called.
Yeah.
But what's this game called?
Turkeys to the kingdom or
Okay.
turkeys to success? Yeah.
Okay. So the most turkeys you allocate are to the team that's most able to.
You're most scared of.
Most scared
Okay.
of. Exactly.
I would give the 49ers with Brock Purdy that 50. I
agree.
honestly would have given them like 60 or 70 when it was Jimmy G. But honestly, Brock has been playing well, and that
I'm
team,
almost more scared of Purdy than Jimmy G.
that chaotic
Yeah.
energy, that like Nick Foles energy.
Yeah, like I know that Jimmy G is going to throw a pick.
Sure. Yeah.
And Pumpkin at some point.
They
Wait,
just-
real quick aside here. You're a draft guy. Leading into the draft, Bo was high on Brock Purdy. What were your Brock Purdy?
I didn't have
I mean,
Okay.
relatively speaking, he was like the one day 3 guy I thought was interesting, but
Okay.
that's.
I'm sorry.
I'm
go
not. I take lots of victory laps. I'm not going to
on. Okay, yeah.
go all the way to victory lap on Purdy.
Okay.
But
I honestly would take that victory out if I were you. But it's all
well, I've been right so many times. It's like what's
Welcome to Birds with Friends.
Yeah. I just think the 49ers match up really well with them across the board. Like when you look at like what kind of defense can stop the Eagles when Jalen Hurts is under center, it's like the 49ers have a pass rush. They have just the defensive front to combat the run. They have Fred Warner who can, be a difference maker in the RPO game and in the zone read game. And they've got
green a lot of fly around. Yeah.
they've got a good secondary and they've got a really good coach. So I would give the 49ers 50% of it. From there, I'd probably give like the Cowboys like 30%. I don't think if the Eagles and Cowboys played 10 games, I think the Eagles probably win the majority of them, maybe 6 or 7. But they're still a good team. I think that they're trending in the wrong direction right now. I mean, you watch that Jaguars game, and it's like, sorry, Jaguars.
That's right, Jaguars. Yeah.
I have a bone to pick with you about the Jaguars.
Let's hear it.
Jaguars sounds like I'm trying to be Southern, and I'm not Southern.
No, but that's
what
yeah.
I'm with Bo. I'm actually with Bo on this one.
I think the way you're putting too much of a W in there when you say Jaguars.
Jaguars.
It's just Jaguars.
It's just I feel like I've heard the British iteration of that word enough that I just am comfortable saying Jaguars at this point.
Jaguars is tough.
Yeah, as someone who did not realize that he could pronounce anything before, I like once I came on the show, I realized I can't make any correct pronunciation. Jaguars is one that I can.
Well, it's interesting because I did see someone tweet earlier this week that anyone pronounced who. Yeah, so I guess you could never go on a show that he
I don't know
is on because he said you're his enemy. So
I am his enemy. But
okay, that's good to know.
Apparently,
we'll keep that in mind.
I mean, leave it to Bo to keep making allusions to a joke that no one understands right now.
I'm playing the long game, Zach.
There's a payoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then anybody else?
I'm not really buying the Vikings. Honestly, the Lions, frisky if they get in. I can see that. Have to beat the team twice, right? I can see the Lions. I wouldn't put much stock into Washington. I know my game theory here isn't as good as your guys. I listen to you guys.
Well, speak for yourself then.
Yeah, but I'm not, maybe not gaming this as well as I should be. But yeah, that's how I would probably
Zach's still terrified of Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, but
yeah, I mean, and I think the Cowboys is like when I think about teams that can put you in the playoffs, and I go back to what EJ said. It's not a 7-game series. It's one game. Okay. And in a 1-game season, if you can rush the quarterback, which we know the Cowboys can do, and you can run the ball and therefore control the clock potentially, if there's a turnover mixed in from that neutralizes the game. So I think the Cowboys would be a tough out in the postseason. And I don't think the rivalry stuff is why they're being undersold perhaps here. I think it more has to do with the recent history. There's this thought that, the Cowboys keep coming up small in big spots. Well, you keep coming up small in big spots until you come up big in a big spot, right? It's like the Red Sox in 2004, so I take out past history. Nothing. I sound like
I don't know if I take
I sound like a coach here when I say this, but nothing that happened in the past would influence you when you're on the field that day. And so I think the Cowboys can be a tough out. I think the Niners are tougher, but I think that the Cowboys in a playoff game, that is a tough out because one game they can score. You've seen that they can get after you.
I mean, in terms of taking out past history, I agree if we're talking about historic records or something. But if you're talking about a head coach with an exhibited history of coming up small and not taking advantage of margins in big games, that matters.
Okay.
The other players on that team have similar histories. I don't know. I think that does matter a little bit. I think it is in their DNA.
I mean, perhaps we'll find out, right? I think the Eagles are the superior team. And I agree with EJ. I wasn't thinking in terms of 10 games. I was thinking 7 games, right? I think the Eagles would win a 7-game series against the Cowboys, but one game, that's where I said getting after the quarterback, running the ball. Those are two things that I know travel in the postseason.
I think all this really speaks to how weak the conference is because we're talking about, a team with the third-string quarterback as the biggest threat to the Eagles in the conference. I mean, I think in any of these matchups, they'll be favored by a good amount, barring Jalen Hurts looking terrible whenever he returns.
But to Bo's point, yeah, I mean, Tom Brady would still terrify me in the playoffs, even if they're not playing well. I mean,
if he showed up, I would be because that face is just so gaunt.
Look, we don't need.
That's why I keep a box of strawberries by my bed when I go to sleep every night, just in case the ghost of Brady comes by. Just in case
Tom Brady shows up in your house.
Yeah.
That's
how you get him out.
I'm going to keep that in mind.
There's a great book about the Patriots that you can check out by Seth Wickersham that you could really learn about Brady there. And I think you come off feeling differently about Brady after reading that book.
You feel great about the writing, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I love Seth Wickersham. I don't feel like I need to think differently about Tom Brady. I'm pretty comfortable in the way that I think about him.
Okay, we don't need to go down the Brady rabbit hole here.
Okay, all right, EJ. Any final thoughts?
I'm just bracing for what I know is coming.
No, there's nothing else coming. I mean, we thank you for planting your flag with us as the only podcast that matters.
No comment. Again, I don't want any inner podcast wars or anything. I told Zach earlier that I feel like Michael Scott, like when Jan wants him to testify against Dunder Mifflin a little bit, like having to pick a side in all this. But
Hey, there's nothing you've already picked. This is
this
this is it. This is the pick. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think I can own that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anything from here is just sloppy seconds. I mean, you agree, Zach?
I'm staying out of that. I don't want to give fighting words to any podcasts. I respect them all.
You respect them all?
I
Every podcast?
I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and yeah, there's things I can take from many podcasts. So
You don't respect every podcast.
not every podcast that exists, because I don't listen to every podcast that exists, but the podcast that you're discussing here, I respect it. Yes.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like we don't need like Ben Shapiro's podcast to be like respected by you. Like,
Okay,
like,
let's turn this on the bow for a second. Okay.
okay, let's do it.
I don't know. Actually, I'm not good at turning it on the bow.
You really felt like you had something there. Like,
Yeah. So
what do you love it? What do you like about him most?
what?
What do you like about Bo most?
What do you like?
No, what was your go ahead? Go ahead.
You're like, what do you hate about EJ?
So here, how about this? Let's be honest here, because I'm real into like feedback. I say whenever someone says to me they listen to the pod, literally the first question that I ask is, what can we do better? What can we do better? Give us feedback. We have a listener on the pod. Most of our guests, I feel, don't listen to the pod, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's mostly true. Yeah.
So what can we do better? Make us better.
You're putting me on the spot here.
Well, this is what you do for a living. You put other people on the spot, right? So yeah.
But I'm not used to being on the spot myself. No, I think you guys do a good job.
Best job, thank you.
Be honest here.
All right, so I will give.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
will give
let's
you
get it
guys
out here.
a compliment and then a constructive criticism.
This is like a coaching point where they say like sandwich it. You give two.
right.
Yeah. No, I say just give us the constructive thing.
No, because I do. I think that the beginnings of your shows, like I like how they are light. I like how you guys kind of ease into it because you guys do have a good rapport. I think everybody enjoys how uncomfortable you get when he asks you personal questions.
Seriously, because I don't enjoy it, but okay.
I think that there have been times in the post-game pods about an hour and a half in where I'm like, what am I still doing here?
That's, by the way, that makes three of us. I'm going to speak for Marissa here. We can't see Marissa on the screen, but I think that's for the three of us here. Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of love for you guys, but I'm not always to the point in the pod where Spotify is kicking me to the next one. If that's my only criticism I can give you.
Get out. Get out. That's unacceptable.
I'm sorry. We're ending on a bad note.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Bill likes he wants the compliment though.
I gave you the compliment.
He likes that sandwich technique that they're doing in Little League. Is that what it's called?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I gave you the compliment up front. I don't think that this podcast works without your personality. No offense to Zach, but like I think
I agree.
I think that's always the engine that makes the podcast.
we're getting a little navel gazy.
There's
Yeah.
lots of Eagles podcasts, and you guys do a good job of making it feel like we're a part. The listener is a part of the podcast.
Well, that's why it's the best.
The best.
You heard it from EJ. Thank you very much. EJ Smith of the Inquirer, thank you for joining us. We'll be back on the other side with more Birds with Friends. We've got some more to talk about with regard to this game. We've got super forecasting. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy holidays to you, EJ.
Happy holidays, everybody.
With Masterclass, you can learn from the world's best artists, icons, and leaders anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn the art of negotiation from Chris Voss. You can improve your business strategy with Bob Iger, or you can learn the power of personal branding from Chris Jenner. With over 180 classes from a range of world-class instructors, that thing you've always wanted to do is closer than you think. What I like is the wide variety. You heard the ones I mentioned above. You can learn everything from writing a book to a screenplay or just a simple letter. You can learn how to communicate with your boss or your family, how to make a dinner worthy of a Michelin star, or just how to make really good scrambled eggs. Whatever you're interested in, there's a class for you. Over 180 exclusive classes taught by the instructors you know and love. I highly recommend you check it out. This holiday, give the perfect gift of an annual Masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/firstdown today. That's masterclass.com/firstdown. Terms apply. I was craving a steak dinner recently, but I didn't have a babysitter, didn't have a reservation, and I was thinking, what if I could have the steakhouse experience in my own home? Well, that's where Omaha Steaks comes in. Omaha Steaks gave me that experience, and you can have it, and you can give it to others. Gift the best with the best steaks of your life from Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher since 1917. Perfectly aged, tender, unforgettable, and guaranteed delicious. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together an assortment of various packages to make shopping for the ones you love nice and easy. Go to omahasteaks.com and use code BIRDS at checkout to get an additional $30 off your order. Send an assortment of mouth-watering favorites guaranteed to impress, like the legendary Butcher's Cut filet mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away. Head to omahasteaks.com and use promo code BIRDS at checkout. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com, use promo code BIRDS at checkout, and get that extra $30 off your order.
All right. Welcome back to Birds with Friends. I think I have some apologies to get to. I mean, the level of audio and video quality. I'm sorry. I feel like we brought EJ down. We brought the quality of the show down. So I'd like to apologize for that. And
it was really just the video. Once your mic was connected 12 minutes in.
Yeah, the audio was not great.
Well, neither of you were giving EJ the mic, like putting the mic in front of him. So it's okay.
We were trying. It was a tough scene. But You know what?
He had great stuff to say, and we're very glad that he chose to come on Birds with Friends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how interesting any of that conversation was for 35 minutes, but we did get him to plant his flag, so that's really all that mattered. Zach, how you doing?
I'm well.
You have some notes, you said. You're
eager for this podcast.
Texting Marissa and I.
Yes.
Marissa and me saying, I can't wait to get on. I got some notes. Let's hear those notes.
No, we can discuss it off air.
What are you talking about? You said I can't wait to get on to give my notes.
I think that our audience deserves us talking football.
We're all family here.
What's going on? I think there's a lot of things we can learn from that. First off, we should have had that as the close to the show. Like I said when we started there, I think it just would have made more sense to come on, talk about what's going on with the Eagles, and then finish the show with the interview as we've done with past
you want to
interviews.
bury EJ, huh?
It's not a matter of burying EJ. We didn't bury Kevin Nagandi. We didn't bury Tyler Dunn. We didn't, right? But I think sequentially it would have made better. It would have made a better podcast to come on, we can talk about the Jalen Hurts injury. We can talk about the Pro Bowl. I mean, EJ was a great guest and a great guy. We don't need to get into EJ's the origin of his marriage before.
I mean, you're the one who asked the marriage question.
Okay. Point being that if we're a visual medium here, which we are when we do this live, we need to be very cognizant of how it looks, the lighting, the background, certainly the video quality. There's a lot there that we can improve upon. So I will take that one on the chin, and
it
we'll
feels
be
like
better
you're throwing that on my chin.
How does
or
it
mine?
Feel like,
just kidding.
How does it feel like I'm throwing that at you?
Because you're saying we did the order wrong.
Yes, that doesn't mean I'm blaming you. I'm simply saying it's something I should have spoken
Marissa,
up
how do you
about.
feel? Do you feel blamed here?
Well, I mean, I did pretty much everything besides send smoke signals that the mic wasn't working. So I tried texting you
Oh, that
guys,
is not your fault at all. Yeah,
slacking you guys,
yeah.
and
No,
DMing
Marissa,
you
you
guys.
are.
I was
Marissa,
gonna
you're,
stop
You know
you.
what?
I
It was a
probably should have
different. I gotta
stopped
say, it was a
you.
different experience. Like I'm used to like watching the computer, seeing you guys there when you're doing the three of you in the same room, and I don't have the computer on me or my phone. It's
Yes.
we should have all been in different rooms on the computer. I think that would have made for better quality. There's
well,
a
now you're
lot we could
blaming
have
EJ
improved
because
on.
EJ had to cover the Pro Bowl at 8:00. He couldn't come on live with us.
No, we could have been in different spots in the media house. I'm not blaming people. I'm accepting responsibility, and I'm telling you what we can do. Problems are solved more when you stop trying to allocate blame and start trying to figure out how to fix them. So this isn't a matter of blaming. This is a matter of improving. But a lot to discuss, including Jalen Hurts, the Cowboys matchup in the Pro Bowl. 8 Pro Bowlers, 9 alternates. Big news for the Eagles here.
Okay, well, we're 40 minutes into the show. It's probably time to get to the big stuff going on. I'm going to bury the Pro Bowl a little bit, but you can talk about it. But this is a
You're
big
so
week.
anti-Pro Bowl.
Well, like to say this is big news, like they're the best team in football. Of course, they have a lot of Pro Bowlers, and arguably one of the more deserving ones didn't make it. So there is a lot to get to here. Even though we haven't really fully unpacked the Jalen Hurts injury,
Yes.
because the last we spoke, we just said that his hands were numb and he got a little banged up. But we sort of talked about it and maybe hinted at the possibility that he had suffered an injury, but it turns out that he has that shoulder injury. And let's get this all wrapped up in a tidy little bow on the night that the GOAT, Jim Gardner, lays down the mic. We send it over to the Stone Cold newsman, Zach Berman, the second best newsman in Philadelphia. Zach, what's the latest with the Birds?
As was discussed at the top of the show, Jalen Hurts has a sprained right shoulder. The Eagles do not have a timetable for his return. They are not ruling him out for Saturday's game against the Dallas Cowboys, and neither is Jalen Hurts. He, as you heard at the top of the show, wants to play, is preparing to play, so we will see what happens in the coming days. But Jalen Hurts did not practice today, which was their first full practice of the week, their biggest practice of the week, and it certainly doesn't look like he's trending to play, but we'll see. Gardner Minshew was on the practice field today. He was not at practice. He was not at the walkthrough on Tuesday. He was paying his respects to his college coach, Mike Leach. And the only other player who was absent at practice today was Zach Pascal. He has a concussion, so he's in the concussion protocol. Since we last spoke, Dallas Goedert has been activated onto the 53-man roster, so no question. As he said, in terms of his status, he will play Saturday. As he said when I spoke to him yesterday, Dallas has a nice ring to it, so expect to see Dallas Goedert. That's the top of the news segment. We should also say Reed Blankenship practicing. He'll play this week. The Eagles, as I teased, have 8 Pro Bowlers and 9 alternates. The 8 Pro Bowlers are, and I'm going to read them to you here: Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelce, A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson, Darius Slay, Miles Sanders, Landon Dickerson, and Hassan Reddick. For Hurts, Dickerson, Reddick, and Sanders, this is their first time making the Pro Bowl. The Eagles also have 9 alternates: Rick Lovato, Isaac Seumalo, Javon Hargrave, James Bradbury, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Mailata, Josh Sweat, and Devontae Smith. Also worth noting that, as we discussed on a previous podcast, Dallas Goedert and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson were not on Pro Bowl ballots while they were on injured reserve, which obviously affected their candidacy. So that's the news from the studio, or that's the news from the field. Back to you in the studio, Bo.
Okay, let's talk about the Pro Bowl as if it matters for a few minutes. My only real gripe is that Javon Hargrave should definitely be in, and not that he isn't a good player, but I think Landon Dickerson is probably a a little over his skis and it's a little early for him to be on the Pro Bowl. He's had some real highlights, but he's also probably had more MEs, it seems like, than anybody on the offensive line.
So I'm gonna bring this up to you because I feel very strongly whenever this Pro Bowl conversation comes up, so and so's definitely should be on. I say, who are you taking off? The interior linemen are Jonathan Allen, Aaron Donald, and Dexter Lawrence.
Well, how many games has Aaron Donald played?
I will pull that up for you here.
And I don't think that Jonathan Allen doesn't knock my socks off either.
So Aaron Donald has 5 sacks this season. He has played in 11 games. He has 5 sacks.
Okay, yeah, I mean, he's not going to not make it because he's Aaron Donald, but Javon Hargrave is more deserving. And what about Jonathan Allen?
Let me pull up Jonathan Allen's numbers here. Jonathan
7.5
Allen.
sacks.
Yes, Jonathan Allen, 7.5 sacks, and he has played 14 games this season.
Yeah, I think those are both reputation based. Not that Hargrave shouldn't have that reputation either, but I'm glad that Dexter Lawrence made it. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say Aaron Donald shouldn't make it, but I think Hargrave should be on. And then it's also, as you meant, like, Dallas Goedert and CJ Gardner-Johnson aren't eligible for that whatever reason. Goddard should obviously be in. TJ Hawkinson's on. Goddard's way better than he is. But otherwise, I think those all make sense.
I agree. I was a little surprised.
You think Lovato was maybe a little overrated?
I was surprised to see Landon Dickerson on there. Were you?
Zach. I mean, I just said that.
Okay. Yes.
I said Hargrave should be on there, and Dickerson probably shouldn't.
Okay.
He's had the most missed assignments of anybody. His highs have been very high, but he has not been consistent. He had a stretch of 3 games where he was bad.
Okay. I was thinking about the Gardner-Johnson one there. Yes, Landon Dickerson. Correct. Agree with you there.
Okay. Who made the Pro Bowl for the Eagles, by the way?
Okay. Guilty as charged. Fair enough.
This is a concerning habit that continues to crop up.
I will be better. I promise you.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about with regard to the Pro Bowl?
Well, obviously, it's the most of any team in the NFL, and obviously the Eagles are hoping not to send those players to Las Vegas this year. They're hoping to make the Super Bowl.
AJ Brown was explaining the process in the locker room about how once you've like made the Pro Bowl and been to the Pro Bowl, you should probably pull out, because then you still get the nod of a Pro Bowler, but you also get to share that description with whoever replaces you. It's like you're paying it forward in terms of like Pro Bowl status.
And AJ Brown in the locker room today said that no, that was a joke.
All right, I'll sell that joke.
Yeah, look. I should tell you, I am sorry about that. I have the opening of the show going through my head right now, and but
Zach, it was fine.
Very low audio quality in your own head.
Yeah.
Next play, right? That's what they tell you. Next play.
All right, Zach. Let's unpack the Jalen Hurts thing a little bit more, because we talked about it briefly with EJ, but certainly like the tenor of where this 13-1 Eagles season sits has changed over the past 3 days. The reports are that this is in the range of a 2-week injury. I think that was Jeff McClain's initial report. Obviously, the national guys had the original scoop within seconds of each other. I think you could sort of figure out how that works. Do you think that now, Jalen Hurts said that he's going to try to play this week. Nick Sirianni said that he is a superhuman healer. He heals differently. He's day-to-day. The Eagles are still not ruling him out. We talked about the reasons why that would be ridiculous. But in terms of the big picture here, how much more worried are you about the Eagles? And if you had how many turkeys on Sunday that the Eagles were going to go to the Super Bowl, how many fewer turkeys do you have now?
This doesn't affect what I think of them as a Super Bowl team. So there's no material effect. I will say there were whispers, rumors, however you want to frame it, of a collarbone injury before the sprained shoulder came out, right? A collarbone injury would have been catastrophic for their chances. So I don't want to say that they dodged a bullet here because they're only dodging a theoretical one, right? We don't know if that was on the table, but relative to what a shoulder injury could be, a sprained shoulder, one would think, is on the milder side. That said, and where any concern I have comes in, is a shoulder injury with a quarterback should never be taken lightly, ever. A shoulder injury with any person who throws something, if it's a pitcher in baseball, there's no such thing as like a minor shoulder injury in baseball, right? I mean, you can rest it and rehab it, but you have to be careful. So I don't know how Jalen is going to throw the ball. This is an injury that quarterbacks have recovered from quickly, but you mentioned when we were speaking to EJ how I referred to Andrew Luck, and that might have been a different injury. He was playing with, I believe, a partially torn labrum. But in that case, he played through it, and it really affected him thereafter. And he missed a year. He had to relearn how to throw the football. So I'm not saying one equals the other. What
This
I am
happened with
saying,
Dak Prescott. This happened with Jimmy G last year. He played through the injury into the playoffs and then had labrum surgery in the offseason. And that's why they, had trouble trading him and why he was, practicing away from the team for so long.
Exactly. So that's why I'm careful not to frame it like this is what's going to happen with Jalen Hurts, because I don't know. I'm just saying when you have someone who throws a football, baseball, whatever throwing sport you choose, a discus, a shoulder injury is never something to just say, oh, that's no big deal.
Did you ever do shot put or discus as a kid?
I did javelin.
Oh, let's hear about that.
I was gonna write that in the chat. Fun fact. Yeah, people are always shocked by that when I say that.
Like at what age?
In high school.
You did the javelin in high school.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How'd you do?
I was like pretty decent. Had a few good years and then like a few bad years, but I think I could throw it. Like I think I made it to like the top 5 in the county at one point.
All right.
So, Michael didn't believe me. We had one in our garage a few years ago, and I whipped it out trying to do it again, and that was a very bad idea. I think I almost like tore every muscle in my arm, but yeah. Back in the track days.
It's week 18. The Browns are playing the Bengals for a spot in the playoffs, and Jacoby Brissett is under center, and oh my God, DJ Reader just got stabbed by a javelin that got thrown from the stands. What is going on?
Yeah.
I agree with pretty much everything you were saying, Zach. The only thing I disagree with is it does change my expectation for them to make the Super Bowl, because it's a variable that we don't know. If Jalen Hurts was as healthy as he was a week ago, I probably would have given the Eagles, I don't know, 65 turkeys to make the Super Bowl. That seems pretty aggressive, right?
To make it or to win it? To make it?
To make it, to get out of the NFC. And that's probably too aggressive if you just look at like the odds. But that's like what it would have been like in my mind. And now I think it's much more like somewhere between like 49 and 55. I don't know. Like, it's just, who knows? You're factoring in rust. He could have a month off. You're factoring in how does he respond. Now he played well in the game after it happened, but for all the other extenuating circumstances, like there's adrenaline, there's maybe something else involved potentially. I don't know. It's just it changes things, and like what happens if they lose the next 2 games and he has to play in week 18 and something else happens. I don't know. It's just it has changed the calculus. I think, no doubt about it. I still think the Eagles should feel good about themselves, but like having the guy who's been the best player on the team dealing with an injury, I think that matters.
Fair. Agree. Jalen Hurts without a shoulder injury is more preferable than Jalen Hurts with a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
That said, and I mentioned this in our conversation with EJ, I don't buy the rust argument because there was going to be rust anyways. He was going.
It's different degrees, but yeah.
If it was, and so that's where I say, does anyone have the magic number for rust here? Right? If there was 2 weeks between games, if there were 3 weeks between games, what's like the number when you're not rusty?
Well, and you're also saying like whatever with especially with Jalen Hurts, like whatever like percentage you downgrade him for rust, you're probably also getting a significant benefit of like his legs are going to be super fresh,
Sure.
right? Like it's not just a single variable.
Absolutely. And like you look in college, for instance, there's regularly over a month between the SEC championship and the bowl game, right? And when he was, I know he famously got benched in the national
So
championship.
maybe he'll get benched now.
But that was the national
Gardner
championship.
Minshew comes in.
I mean, the week before that, he threw 2 touchdowns, I believe, in a win over Clemson. So it's hard for me to qualify or quantify what the rust factor is. And I think unless you were going to play every week anyways, or even just have 1 week off, my guess is that these guys are not going to play week 18. Who knows what the plan would have been week 17. So I don't buy the rust argument. What I buy is the performance argument, right? If he's playing through a shoulder injury, how does that affect you? I simply don't know the answer to it. And also the mental side of it. Are you less inclined to run or take a hit? I don't know that either. So we'll see. I just think that the reason why I'm not changing their Super Bowl odds, if you will, even though literally the people who know how to do this, the odds makers, change their Super Bowl odds, so I probably should. There's so much time between now and the playoffs. Assuming the Eagles have the first round bye, and Austin Mock from The Athletic gave them a 98+% chance of getting a first round bye based on his model, then the Eagles are not playing a playoff game until at least a month from today. I'm looking at the calendar now on my laptop. Saturday night is January 21st. Sunday and Sunday is January 22nd. So they would play either the 21st or the 22nd. If Jalen Hurts does not play before then he would have over a month to recover from this injury. That is so
long away. That's insane.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying, like, assuming this is an injury he can recover from, that is a really long time to recover from an injury. That's why I am not concerned.
Well, let's spin this to Gardner Minshew for the present being, because what a moment for Gardner Minshew this is going to be. This is a guy who had 1 start last year.
2 starts.
Oh, sorry.
One meaningful start. Yeah.
Right. 1 meaningful start last year. Played well. It wasn't like the most perfect game, but I think by like EPA per drive, it was their best game of the season. And, thought he played well. We saw the video of him coming off the field. Jalen Hurts' status as the starter was not fully secured at that point. He goes into Sirianni's office and asks, what can I do to be the starter? And gets sort of rebuffed. He goes and has the living in the van down by a gym over the offseason, does his workouts. Kaylin Kaler last week told us that her understanding was that he wanted to be able to focus more on being a backup this year and agitating less for being a starter. He is a free agent to be, and he just lost the guy who was like a father figure to him in Mike Leach, without whom, he would not be in the NFL. And I think it's like, that's a reasonable thing to say. He said it. He goes down on Tuesday. He gets the news that Jalen Hurts is injured, and he's not sticking around because he has an obligation to go down and speak at Mike Leach's service on Tuesday. He's going through all of that, all of those emotions, and he's now preparing to most likely start this game with a chance to lock up the number 1 seed against the hated Cowboys on the road with a national audience and make a statement for potentially, battling for a quarterback job elsewhere and getting a nice contract in the offseason. Like, what must be going through his head as he prepares this week? I mean, what a story this will be.
And if I can add in there, he went into Sirianni's office after the start last year, and he's a free agent. That was sorry.
Wow, we give an emotional background, and this is
Yeah.
what a role reversal. You're the
Sorry.
one taking us off
Committing
track.
to the bit. No, I feel it's important to solve that grade. That was an outstanding outline. Honestly, that's what it is. And I thought it was poignant, the part about Mike Leach, because there has to be an emotional element to this, right? You and I were in the locker room last week speaking to Gardner when he was emotional speaking about Mike Leach, and he spoke at the memorial service. So an emotionally charged week or two for Gardner Minshew, and understandably so, and touchingly so. You remove the emotional element of it from a football perspective. Yeah, Gardner Minshew doesn't view himself as a career backup. And in our podcast with Kalen last week, we asked about the different types of backup quarterbacks, right? And Gardner Minshew's definitely the type of backup quarterback who's not your Doug Peterson type, who says, all right, he's a career backup. He's ready. He wants to be a starter. And I mentioned this is a class. This is a free agent class with a lot of these, or I shouldn't say a lot, a few of these types of quarterbacks who are might be fringe starter backup types, right? So Gardner Minshew has a chance to really boost his stock against a good defense on a big stage. We spoke in our preseason and training camp podcast. We do a training camp podcast every day, so there's a lot of airtime to fill. And one of the topics we discussed then was, should they consider trading Gardner Minshew if there's a good deal? And the thing we always said was, this is an organization that really values backup quarterbacks, and they have it for this type of situation. I mean, it wasn't lost on me that Nick Foles was announced the starting quarterback today, right? We've seen what Nick Foles can do in relief. So I think that this is a good team, even with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. And this is a big spot for Gardner, and I'm fascinated to see what he does. And I think that EJ also framed it well, too, that if you don't want to show what you would do in a playoff game, it's a different offense. Well, it's called differently.
Right.
With
Yeah,
Gardner.
you can be a little bit more free. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Gardner, if you look at the game last year, 20 of 25, right? He, I think it was the most carries that Miles Sanders had all season. He had 24 carries, went over 100 yards. Dallas Goedert had a big game, the only 2-touchdown game of Dallas Goedert's career. Goedert actually gave a story that you might appreciate, where he said that they were in the trainer's room. Goedert was getting an IV. He was sitting there with Richard Rodgers. Minshew walks in. They knew Minshew was starting. And Richard Rodgers said, we were watching you in Jacksonville. We loved you there. We thought you were awesome. And they were really buttering up Minshew. And so Goedert said that's why he was getting all the targets. He said he's got to give love to Rich Rod. He didn't say the name you use. He said funny. Rich Rod. Yes.
Yeah, and in terms of what's different about them, obviously, he's not as athletic. That goes without saying. But he can, he's got a little wiggle to him. He's not gonna throw the ball downfield outside the numbers like Jalen Hurts does. I think he'll throw the ball down the middle of the field willingly, but it's going to be the expectation is more short game stuff, more screens probably. Yep. Leaning a little bit heavier on the run game against the Cowboys' run defense that got carved up by the Jaguars last week. So I think it's going to be interesting. And, there's probably a little bit of just like EJ said, you can be a little bit freer with the game plan and not worry about holding stuff back. I think there's probably a little bit of the guys on the team. It's not 100% dissimilar to what happened when Carson Wentz went down. They believe that this is not a one-man team. They have a lot of impact themselves into why this team is 13-1. I think there might be a bit of a short-term boost. I don't think that it would be a surprise at all if the Eagles go out and win this game. What are they right now? 4.5 point favorites. I think the line has dropped down to 4.5. Yep. So it's interesting.
I see there's a commenter who says that Minshew is more myth than reality. And look, the Minshew
I can tell you he does exist. That
the Minshew mania part of that probably had to do with the personality, but the facts are the facts. 41 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. He's won games in this league. He's not a starting quarterback right now. There's a reason why he's a backup, and probably over an extended period of time, there are things he doesn't have the strongest arm, like the commenter said, but as both said, he can get rid of the ball quickly. You adjust your game plan. 20 of 25 in that start last year. That doesn't happen by accident. He knows where to go with the ball. And
it was against a terrible defense, but yeah.
No, but I'm saying he's been
Sure.
a high percentage quarterback in his career, right?
Yes.
There are things that he can do well, and Nick Sirianni's brought up the game against the Colts when he might have had like 17 consecutive completions or something with either a great percentage or consecutive completions. Point being, he can fill this role. He's one of the better backups in the league, and I think Eagles fans should be intrigued about him in this spot on Saturday.
All right, let's talk about the other side of the ball, Zach, because I think this is really interesting from the same perspective of people having a little bit of an extra juice to see what they can do without Jalen Hurts. This is a really interesting test for the Eagles defense. Mm-hmm. An Eagles defense that ranks, I think they dropped to 7th in DVOA now, but still top 5 or top 5 periphery. They've been good all year, but they haven't played a ton of great quarterbacks again. They haven't played a ton of great offenses. And so how does this defense with the playoffs in mind, you're wondering if they can be the team to the side of the ball to carry them at some point. I think there's an expectation that they should be able to do that in this game. And now it's a very good Cowboys offense. Mm-hmm. CeeDee Lamb is going to be moved all over the place. I'm curious to see if the Eagles are going to have anybody follow him or if they're going to just let, say, Avonte Maddox stick with him inside when he's inside. I'm curious to see what they do at safety. Reed Blankenship seems like he'll be ready to play. Is he the full-time starter? Is he in a rotation with Avonte Maddox similar that we saw last week? I think that probably would be my guess, is that you want Avonte Maddox to play as many snaps as possible. And so you have Reed Blankenship in non-base and then Maddox in base. But I'm curious to see what they do there. These linebackers, how do they do in coverage? And against a Cowboys offensive line that is better now than it was the last time these two teams played each other because Tyron Smith is there now. Can this pass rush, which we talked about after the Bears game, being a playoff caliber game-wrecking unit, can they do it against Dak Prescott?
They can. Now, the Cowboys are nothing. Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are a good team, right? I was going to say they're nothing to overlook. There's a reason why they're favored in this game, and it is a tough matchup, and they can really run the ball well. The Eagles' pass rush has been lights out, and as you pointed out on the postgame show, 5 of their 6 sacks were in third downs, right?
I believe that's right.
And it's harder to get into third and passing situations when you have 2 running backs who can, get you into third and shorts, right? Or get you chunk plays on the ground.
Number 5 rushing offense by DVOA against the number 20 rushing defense by DVOA.
So that's the thing. So much of the effectiveness of this pass rush is because of the way they play on earlier downs. And I think it's going to be harder on earlier downs against a Cowboys team that has run the ball fairly consistently this year. So I'm really curious to see how that matchup goes. And Dak Prescott did not play in that first game. I know Dak Prescott has been a turnover-prone quarterback this year. We all saw the end of the Jaguars game. But he can still hurt you, right? And so, I think this is a huge test for the defense. And it's a game that I think we'll say a lot, because if you look at where the Eagles are weakest, you can say it's their run defense, right? They're weakest on defense. That run defense has been better in recent weeks. But what I would also point out is they were going up against run offenses that you're not worried about their passing game, right? They can go into the Titans game saying, let's stop Derrick Henry. They can go into the Bears game saying, let's focus on this ground game. if you are so focused on taking away Pollard and Elliott, then Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup can beat you. So that's why this is an intriguing matchup.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. And if, like, let's say the Cowboys have a really good game offensively. Let's say the Cowboys win this game, like, I don't know, 33-21 or something like that. And the Eagles beat the Saints next week. It's fine. They clinch. They still get the 1 seed. But in terms of like the last meaningful game against a good team, the defense has a bit of a, not stinker, but a down game. I think you're a little bit worried going into the playoffs about how they're going to do against another good offense whenever they get there in the divisional round.
That's fair. That's fair, because what this team has done, and it's to their credit, is they've beaten up on teams they should beat up, right? But in the playoffs, you don't play those teams. So unless there's a Giants upset in the opening round and you see the Giants in round 2, you're going to see the Cowboys most likely. That's the most likely scenario, seeing the Cowboys. So if the Cowboys move the ball consistently on Saturday night, one would think they can move the ball consistently on January 21st or January 22nd.
Okay. I know that we are already over an hour in and we haven't even gotten to Swooper. I'm sorry to Marissa for that. But Zach, is there anything else from the locker room over the past couple of days, or coordinator press conferences that we had today, or Sirianni yesterday that you think is worth discussing?
I think we hit it on the head. All big themes that we will address in the coming weeks. The one thing we should probably speak to with the press conferences and with the Hurts injury that we didn't get into, and we don't have to take 10 minutes here, but we can do it in 3 to 5 minutes, is this is a major debate on
First time
on talk radio in the city. People, I'm getting text messages from fans about this, which is the way the Eagles are using Jalen Hurts. Okay. And Bo had the numbers the other day in terms of the designed runs, versus the scrambles, versus the kneel downs. They still ran him quite a bit. And like we said on the show, they did not hand the ball off to Miles Sanders, talking as frequently as they should have. The coaching staff has admitted that, but the coaching staff has essentially said, and I'm speaking in circles here, there's the game plan against the Bears, which makes sense when the Eagles say the Bears were giving them matchups against these corners. The Eagles had 2 100-yard receivers. They thought they could pass the ball. That's a separate question than the amount of times you run Jalen Hurts, the quarterback-centric running game. And
Sirianni said that that's similar in that, they ran a lot of reads, and the Bears' strategy was to make Jalen Hurts keep it.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean you have to do it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is that I agree with Nick Sirianni in that they're 13-1 with one of the best offenses in the NFL because they play this style. Jalen Hurts' running ability and the threat of Jalen Hurts running the ball. And I also don't think that because Jalen Hurts runs the ball, he's more prone to get injured. When he was injured last year, it was in the pocket. Lamar Jackson's last 3 injuries haven't occurred when he's been running. It's occurred when he's either throwing, or there was a snap over his head in the playoff game a few years ago. He got a concussion from that. And I've spoken to people about this, and the logic makes sense that when you are running, you're usually seeing the hit or preparing for the hit, as opposed to when you're in the pocket and you're getting sacked on the blind side or someone rolls up on you. It's a different situation. But where I disagree with the Eagles is that there are times when they are running these zone reads or these RPRs, however you want to frame them, and it could just be an inside zone play to Miles Sanders, right? You have a good offensive line. You have a good running back. You can trust Miles Sanders to get consistent yardage, and you don't need to run the zone reads as often as you do. And I still think because you've done it enough this year, because of the threat of Jalen Hurts doing it, defenses are still going to have to account for the possibility that he runs.
Yeah, I just think that everything is a little bit contextual with this. And the week that you're playing in 3 degrees and it's a notoriously bad field and you're, whatever it was, 9-point favorites, that's probably not the week that you need to really pound Jalen Hurts as a runner. That's really it. And you're also 3 weeks away from the playoffs. I think it's different than, you got a division game in week 7. Let's make sure we win this game and get whatever we can out of Jalen. I just think a little bit more situational awareness would have been helpful in that game. And I also don't think that it's quite as binary as saying like it's easier to get injured in the pocket, because the more times you get hit, the more likely you are to get injured, right? True. It's just it's a pure numbers thing.
True.
So that's all.
Okay.
All right, let's take a little break. Back with Swooper. You got about 2 minutes left to submit some Swooper submissions to Marissa, and we'll be back and have some fun.
It's time to knock that new business idea out of the park with Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Forget the off-season work. Shopify makes it simple to sell to anyone from anywhere. Whether you're selling warm-ups or wall hangers, it's time to start selling with Shopify and join the platform simplifying commerce for millions of businesses worldwide. With Shopify, you'll customize your online store to your brand, discover new customers, and build the relationships that create die-hard fans. Shopify fields all the sales channels to grow a winning business, from an in-person POS system to an all-in-one e-commerce platform, even across social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And thanks to 24/7 support and free on-demand business courses, Shopify is on your team every step of the way. It's how every minute new sellers around the world score their first sale with Shopify, and you can too. Shopify is the secret to becoming a business champion by making it simple for anyone to sell their products anywhere, taking the guesswork out of selling. When you're ready to take your winning idea to the world, team up with Shopify, the commerce platform powering millions of businesses down the street and around the globe. Try out Shopify for free today and start selling anywhere. This is Possibility powered by Shopify. Sign up for a free trial at shopify.com/birds, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/birds to start selling online today. Shopify.com/birds. Finding the right wine for holiday dinners, family gatherings, and gifts can be stressful and expensive. That's why First Leaf does the hard work for you. Here's how First Leaf helps make holiday wine buying easy and affordable. To start, First Leaf asks you specific questions about your personal wine preferences. Then you'll use answers to learn what kinds of wine you like and what you don't. Next, for less than what you'd pay at the store, First Leaf's experts will custom curate award-winning wines you'll love and deliver them right to your door. They offer flexible delivery options, fast shipping, and make it super easy to change or cancel. First Leaf samples over 10,000 wines a year from around the world and selects only the finest bottles, meaning a First Leaf wine subscription can help you impress everyone on your guest and gift list. What I like about First Leaf Monthly Wine Club membership is that it's made shopping for high-quality wine affordable, fun, and easy. And for someone like me who does not know wine well, it really gets me the wines that I like and need at a good price. Sign up today and you'll get your first 6 bottles for $39.95 plus free shipping. Go to tryfirstleaf.com/BWF. That's tryfirstleaf.com/BWF to get your first 6 bottles for $39.95 plus free shipping. Try firstleaf.com/BWF.
All right, Bo, Zach, and Marissa back on Burns with Friends. Marissa coming off a W. She's at 2. Zach's at 4. I'm at 8. Marissa, I think you're muted. How you feeling? You ready to back this bad boy up?
I'm ready. I need to keep winning, so hopefully this is the start of a streak. That's it.
You have 28 turkeys with which to bid. Zach has 18.
Okay.
Mortgaged his future a little bit. I have 47 after the despicable display last week. I believe, Zach, it is your turn to lead this bad boy off. Then me, then Marissa.
Devontae Smith reaches 1,000 yards receiving. He needs 99 yards to do so.
I wish I had looked at this and added my prediction.
1.
Next week, I'm going to send Marissa a closed envelope of 3 predictions for Zach's
Okay.
Swoopers. 2.
3.
99 yards with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Cowboys defense banged up. We should have said that earlier. Pretty significantly. Leighton Vander Esch is going to be out for this game. Their secondary has been pick-onable of late. We'll see. I don't see a huge game from Devontae Smith. 99 yards. 3 going once. 3 going twice. Marissa's got it.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts and Ian Book play the same amount of snaps.
1.
Somebody made the suggestion that the person who throws their thing out should start the bidding. I think that's a fair. That way we don't. We're skipping a little extra beat. So from now
we're
on,
skipping 1.
No. From now, so you could say I'll start the bidding at 3 if you want, but you got to the person who throws it out has to bid at least 1. I think is a fair.
Oh, you can't add that now.
Okay. I think it's a good suggestion.
Okay. Yes.
I'll throw it out to the room.
Zach, he's just coming up with new rules.
Maybe. No, that was a listener suggestion. I think that's a good suggestion. So
yeah, that's a good suggestion.
If you don't want to do it this week, we can say starting next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. 2. 2 going once.
3.
4.
5.
6. 6 going once.
7.
7 from
Yes,
Mr.
Zach.
18 Turkeys.
7 going once.
You can have it.
Sold to Zach.
No. You got to go say going twice.
Okay. 7 going twice.
8.
You sure? There you go.
Are you?
Okay. It's good.
This is
Mission
a
accomplished.
troublemaker.
Mission accomplished. I
He's
was
just
trying to
bid
bid
me
him
up.
up. Yeah.
That was good. Okay. 8
once,
going
8
1.
twice. Sold.
Oh, now he speeds through it. That was good, Zach. You got him up on a lot.
Thank you.
Because who knows? Ian Book could. Someone said Ian Book
Yeah.
Wildcat snaps incoming. I hope that's true.
I like Ian Book. Nice guy to speak with.
I agree.
Okay. An Eagles Pro Bowler scores a touchdown.
Ooh, that's a good one. So you got.
Ooh.
1.
Now, alternates don't count. It's got to be. It's got to be a Pro
Okay.
Bowler. Yeah.
All right.
So
alternates
AJ and
don't
Miles. You're looking at AJ or Miles?
Or
Or
a
defensive player.
position.
More
Yeah.
defensive player.
By the way, the entire offensive line and starting defensive line, and Brandon Graham is either a Pro Bowler or an alternate. I mean, if you're talking about building along the line, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good night for Howie Roseman.
When isn't it a good night for Howie Roseman?
I said 1.
2.
3.
4.
5.
6.
7.
7 going once. 7 going twice. Sold to Marissa.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one.
Someone said when he doesn't have pizza for Howie Roseman. Howie and I
that's good.
share this much in common. We both really like pizza. We've discussed pizza in the past. It's he appreciates pizza. He appreciates good pizza. No sell by Bo.
I sort of want you to keep like digging that hole. I want to hear more.
There's more, but nothing we need to get on with the pod. Let's roll here.
Well, you're the one who brought it up. All right.
Okay.
I was engaging our audience as we should do, frankly.
Okay. There's a little spiciness on this pod between the two of you today. I don't know what it is.
It's all
but-
good natured.
Yeah, it's all good natured. I'm a
Okay.
big Bo fan. I was raving about him at dinner to my wife.
Wow, I'll take that.
That's very nice. Okay.
I'm a
Ready.
big Zach fan also. I was also raving at dinner about Zach to his wife.
Wait, real quick about what being saying the line about engaging with the fans is every time when I say to Bo we should have like a mailbag episode. Bo's like a mailbag.
Yeah,
episode.
you're right.
It's like
We should do that. I mean,
he's like that's so. I mean, Bo doesn't like anything that seems like easy to phone. It has to be like a creative.
there has to be a degree of difficulty, which is unnecessary. I agree with that.
Exactly.
Well,
yes.
we'll hopefully have an extra week built in. That would be great
So
for
that'd be a good
mailbag.
map. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Din is Brandon Graham reaches double-digit sacks for the season. This is a regular auction, but the winner gets to keep this item throughout the rest of the regular season
Ooh, I love that.
if needed, and will get a point on the week that it happens, whichever week that may be. Shout out to loyal listener Sunset Shaz for this idea.
Ooh, I love that idea.
So basically, like, if it happens, you're getting it. And I would like
Now
to
do
clarify,
but-
it says regular season.
and this you're paying it all now.
Yeah,
It's not a
auction, but the
recurring
winner,
payment every week.
yes, gets this item throughout the rest of the regular season if needed, and will get a point on the week that it happens, whichever week that may be.
Okay, and Brandon Graham is at 8.5, so he needs a 1.5 sacks.
1,
4,
5,
7,
8,
9,
10,
11,
12,
Ooh. 13,
oh. 3 games left.
13 going once.
14.
Wow. $14 going once. 14 going twice. You got it.
Okay.
Good for you.
I was honestly trying to bid you up, but the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, you know what? This could be.
I wanted to get it, but it's irresponsible for me to spend 15 turkeys at this point.
Well,
I'm rooting
there's
for
a
it.
lot of turkeys, so
I know, but you've only got 4 left now.
yeah.
All
But
right,
I got 3 items already.
you do. Zach, it's up to you.
Okay, so this one is similar to the last one, but it's only for this week. Okay, which is an Eagle reaches double-digit sacks in this game. So that would be either Josh Sweat or that would be Brandon Graham. I mean, Fletcher Cox could, in theory, have 4 sacks to reach it, but Sweat needs 1 sack or a half a sack. Brandon Graham needs 1.5 sacks.
4.
I'm out. Zach?
4 going once.
5.
4 going twice. Half sack for his Josh Sweat. . .
5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5. 5.
5 going once. 5
5.
going twice. Sold to Zach.
Yes. I'm so glad that you got that, Zach, because I'd be rooting for mine, but I wouldn't be rooting for it because then Bo would get it.
Okay. The Eagles play a season low percentage of 11 personnel. Right now, that is 57%, which was actually against the Cowboys in week 6. And we talked about some of the reasons why they may lean a little bit more into multiple tight end sets to help the running game this week without Jalen Hurts. So I will bid 1. One going once.
I'm out.
1 going twice.
2.
2 going once. 2 going twice. Sold to Zach.
I don't like that one, but I didn't want you to get it for 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're up?
I'm up.
Yes.
Dallas Goedert ties or exceeds his career high for touchdowns in a game or his career high for yards in a game.
Exceeds.
Ties or exceeds.
Oh, ties or exceeds. Okay, so 2 touchdowns would do it.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's 135.
Hmm.
That's what I saw quickly. Don't quote me.
Okay, I'll say 1.
2.
I'll say 3. 2 touchdowns. That feels doable.
I'm out.
3 going once. 3 going twice. Sold to the man with the turkeys. I'm down to 36. Zach's got 11. Marissa's got 4.
Is it okay for you guys to filibuster for 10 seconds? I'm going to hop out and back in because my video is not in sync with my audio and it throws me off.
Yep.
Sure. Did Michael make it to the Pro Bowl? Oh, it's because he wasn't eligible because
in
the
our hearts,
injured
yes,
reserve thing.
yes. He did vote, which I thought he put a lot of thought in his voting.
Okay.
Yes, I thought that was very interesting. Probably more thought than most people.
I'd love to know what his offensive line ballot was.
Well, he doesn't get to vote for the NFC.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was very curious which Eagles he was going to pick, but he told me he doesn't get to vote for it.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually didn't know
and
that.
he can't vote for his own teammates.
Oh.
Yes.
Would he be willing to reveal his O-line ballot?
I'm sure he would.
Oh, that's so interesting to me.
I don't know if he's listening. He's been very into playing this FIFA game that he got, but we'll see if he's listening. Big test.
Well, I mean, this episode has been going on for a very long time in his defense.
Yeah. And I had a pod before this, so he's been probably really gaming hard in there.
I had a FIFA theory this week. I was speaking to someone who knows quite a bit about soccer, and I was saying anecdotally, so many of the players that I'm around play FIFA, and it's so popular that I would imagine in 10 years, maybe, however long, there's the soccer players in the United States are going to have a degree of creativity that they didn't have 10 years ago or 20 years ago because of FIFA. Similar to the way probably us and our listeners understand clock management or game strategy in football better than some like veteran coaches because of the amount of times they've been in those situations in Madden. Is that a crazy theory?
I don't think it's crazy. I think that I don't think that's where you would get your creativity from a soccer perspective. I think you get that creativity by growing up and having a ball at your foot at 4 years old. And
I just mean there's gonna be an understanding.
But the spatial, there's gonna be an understanding. FIFA's been around long enough for it to have made that kind of difference. I think.
But I think the past decade, it's really when
I think I did a one of my very first Wulf stands when I still worked for the Eagles website was with Jeremy Macklin about FIFA.
But when we were in high school, where there was FIFA popular?
Yeah, but it wasn't. I
Okay.
mean, it wasn't as high quality of a game.
Okay.
But yeah,
But
So
good,
my
but
text
good for
back,
Michael.
my text back I got was question mark, which he failed. He's not watching. He says he's watching now, but
Michael, we want to know what your ballot was. Your O-line ballot.
yeah. But yeah, I thought he put a lot of thought into it. He really didn't just pick favorites. So, but he only gets to vote for the AFC. And I don't know what percentage is fan vote. I think a majority
third,
is fan
right?
vote. Oh, a third?
I thought it was a third, and a third. Am I wrong about that?
Zach?
Coaches, players, fans.
Probably so. I don't know. I have to look it up.
Oh, now you're the one who's poo-pooing the Pro Bowl. All right, what do we got from Daniz?
Okay. That was a good filibuster.
Thank you.
Okay. There's a lot of stuff written on here. Lots of colors.
Goodness.
The item. The third official Miles Sanders carry of the game occurs on Eagles' official offensive play number X, where X has to be greater than or equal to the lowest bid for this item, but less than or equal to the winning bid. Okay. Sealed bid first price auction. All three players privately write down their bids and then reveal them at the same time. The highest bidder wins the item and pays their own bid. The other two players do not pay anything. Note, even though the losers do not pay anything, their bids still matter because the item itself is based on all of the bids. The higher the lowest bid, the less valuable the item is for the winner. If there's a two-way tie for the highest bid, flip a coin to determine who wins the item. Only the winner pays their bid. If there's a three-way tie, do a random drawing to determine who wins the item. Only the winner pays their bid.
And it's the third carry?
The third
third
official
carry.
Miles Sanders carry of the game occurs on the Eagles' official offensive play number X.
Now,
where X
official
has to be
carry
greater
means
than or
that
equal to lowest bid.
a penalty won't count. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Crowdsourcing the chat here. What do you think I should do?
I have
No, you
no
can't.
idea.
I mean,
I
this-
barely
I wanna engage
understand
the
the
audience.
item.
I want to engage the audience.
No,
I
that's
can't
not engaging the audience. That's cheating.
It's not cheating. It's phoning a friend.
It's
Like,
cheating.
Okay.
All right, everybody ready?
Wait,
Everybody understands the rules here.
not really, to be fully honest. Official play where X has to be greater
Yeah, so his
than.
third carry has to be you need it to be the Eagles number play between the lowest bid and the highest bid. And you're
Okay.
paying the highest bid, obviously.
Okay. I'm winging this.
All right.
Hold on. Okay.
Everybody
Three.
ready? 3, 2,
2,
1.
1.
All right. Well, Marissa, you literally can't win it. For the audio,
I think I got game theoried.
Zach had 0. I had 0. Marissa had 2. It's going to be hard for Miles Sanders to get his third carry on the second.
Okay,
carry
I
of the
didn't
game, second
understand.
play of the
Can I at
game.
least do 3?
No, because you were going. I mean, you were going for a low, but unfortunately, no, we can't change the rules. I'm sorry.
So I just wasted 2 turkeys.
We wasted 2 turkeys.
Inez. I was so confused.
And Zach cheated by taking the advice of the chat.
Yeah, I have like 12 tabs open here, Zach. I couldn't see the chat. Just kidding. There's no excuses. I could have been better. I'll learn from it.
No. Also, I typically go with 0 on most.
I could have. I thought about going high and guaranteeing the point, but it wasn't worth my turkeys because.
So Michael texted, that was real bad. I didn't understand. That was my blonde.
Well, I don't
moment.
think it wasn't that you didn't understand. It's just that.
I didn't want to do. I didn't have many turkeys to waste,
Right.
and I was gonna do 3. I didn't want to do 4,
Yeah.
and then for
All
some
right.
reason I held up a 2. Oh well. Okay.
All right,
It
Zach,
gets me again.
your proposal.
Gardner
Yeah,
Minshew.
but last week it worked out for you on the punt, so maybe they'll find a way this time.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew has a passer rating of at least 100.
1,
2,
3,
4.
Okay, back to the other one. You guys could have had numbers, so it wouldn't be
Yeah.
it wasn't that stupid.
No, it wasn't that
It
stupid.
wasn't. It wasn't
Okay.
stupid at all,
Okay.
Marissa. Don't worry, Marissa.
I also think like
Marissa, you are great. Don't worry.
I could have bid like 20
Okay.
to guarantee the
Okay.
point, but it wasn't worth.
I was thinking, oh wow, I bid like 2 and he had to do 3 carries.
Right,
But
right.
okay, never mind. We're at 4.
5.
Going once.
Going twice.
6.
Once.
Bo, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sold to Zach for 6. Oh, now we got to filibuster because Bo's got to fix himself a little.
So I will say that before we started this tonight, Marissa, I had planned on doing ones that were very unlikely to hit.
Yeah.
Right. So I had considered doing, for instance, AJ Brown
It's good.
sets
First
the Eagles
End the same way it started.
Okay, so Bo, I was telling Marissa that when we started this tonight, I had planned on doing things that were unlikely to hit. Right, Mike Quick, AJ Brown breaks Mike Quick's record. He needs 208 yards. That was in the day after the other day. Different things that I thought were improbable. That's because Bo has the turkey advantage. But I also thought, look, it's the holiday season. People are paying attention to this game because we've received nice messages from people who play this at home. Right, they do this with their friends. I do want to give realistic ones, so that's why. But I just really strongly considered crazy ones. Gardner Minshew,
But you're not above cheating.
Cheating,
As you did before.
I didn't cheat. I crowdsourced, but they confirmed what I thought.
That's
It's work smarter, not harder. He was working smarter. I agreed, Zach. I should have looked.
If you are watching this an hour and 42 minutes into the show, you deserve to be engaged.
Yes.
I don't know. These losers, you think they're going to get engaged? Ha ha ha.
Okay, we're at 5.
Oh, I thought didn't Zach get
I wanted,
it?
yeah.
Oh, sold
I
for
I thought
6?
no, Zach got it for 6.
Okay.
6.
Yeah, so he's got 5 turkeys left. You've got 2 turkeys left. I've got 36.
Jesus. Okay, who's up? Me?
Yes.
Okay. The Eagles have more passes than runs. One.
2.
I'm out. 2 going
3.
once.
5.
You can have it for 5.
It's not up to you. I have it for 5.
Huh.
All right. Our last
Okay.
one from Dennis.
Okay. The Eagles win the game. Regular auction, but unlimited borrowing from next week's turkeys is allowed for all bidders. If the Eagles cover the current spread, look it up now, and everyone agree to that number, the winner's turkeys will be pardoned and refunded in full. 3 possibilities. Win a point and get turkeys back. Win nothing, but get turkeys back. Win nothing and don't get turkeys back.
What do you see, Zach? I see 5, but it could be 4.5, depending on where you look.
Let's go to
BetMGM.
It's the official
Yeah.
partner of
Okay.
The Athletic. I am pulling that up, and it looks like 5.5. But let me get the live ones here. It's easier if I just do it on my phone. Sorry to be thinking out loud here.
Where do you think Miles Sanders ranks in yards from scrimmage among NFC running backs relative to since he made the Pro Bowl?
I'm looking this up on my phone, so I'm not listening.
At least
answer
we're
is-
being honest.
The answer
Why
is
don't you
5th.
listen? 5th, okay.
5th, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, then Miles Sanders. Tony Pollard has almost 100 more yards from scrimmage
Okay.
than
So
Miles Sanders does. Interesting.
So I'm sorry, it's 4.5 right now on
Okay.
BetMGM,
4.5.
and the over/under is 47.
Okay.
Okay. 2.
5.
6.
9.
10.
10 going once. 10 going twice. Sold to Marissa.
Okay. I was kind of trying to get you up, but
I could tell, but
I guess I got to work on my poker face.
all right. So Marissa is down 8 turkeys for next week.
Okay. I'm
But
going
she
for it. I got to
has-
throw it all
She
in.
has 5 items this week. She's got Devontae Smith has 99 yards. A Pro Bowler scores a touchdown. Brandon Graham gets 10 sacks, and you get that later if it happens later. So that's a good one. You've got a little bit of a future investment. Miles Sanders. What's this one? Oh, this is the one that you can't literally
Yeah.
physically possibly get. And the Eagles win the game. And if they don't win the game, but they cover the 4.5 point spread, you get those 10 turkeys back. Zach has Josh Sweat or Brandon Graham gets to the 10 sack plateau. The Eagles have a season low of 11 personnel. And Gardner Minshew has a passer rating of 100 or better. Pretty good for Zach to only be spending 13 turkeys and get those 3 things. Not bad. I have Jalen Hurts and Ian Book play the same number of snaps. Dallas Goedert matches a career high in touchdown catches or receiving yards, and the Eagles have more passes than runs. So there you go. And I have 31 turkeys left over. Zach has 5. All right, let's get to our crystal ball eagle predictions. Mercifully, at this point in the show, I can go first if you want, Zach. I think this is going to be a fascinating game to watch. I'm really interested to see what the Eagles do from a game plan perspective on both sides of the ball. I think we have sort of an idea of what they might do on offense, and I'm really curious to see how they play on defense. This is a game that probably Dallas needs more, although Dallas doesn't even need it that badly.
They're kind of locked into the 5 seed,
right? Like, there's a chance. But I think it's interesting. And they have this, we haven't even talked about it. They have the same incentive to not necessarily show everything in this game potentially. But I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I think the energy is going to be really, like, the Gardner thing is going to be so interesting. But I think that the Cowboys offense is going to be able to do a few things to the Eagles defense that they haven't seen before. I think CeeDee Lamb does have a big game. I think Dak has a bit of a bounce back game. I think the Eagles are going to move the ball on offense. I think it could be a big Miles Sanders day, but I think it's more likely that it'll be like a Dallas Goedert day. I think it's a close game. But I think the Cowboys score a touchdown late to come away with the win and leave victors by the score of, we'll say, 28-20.
So you're the Cowboys winning and covering.
I do.
Okay. It occurred to me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that the two of us have picked the Eagles to win every game this season. The Eagles also have been favored to win every game.
We picked them to win every game. That's interesting.
The Eagles have been favored to win every game this season. This is the first game in which the Eagles are underdogs, and I can understand why.
Still, you know what? You got a few days left to get that bad boy before Christmas. Give it a plug.
By the way, I appreciate everyone who has reached out. I've been at the post office twice in the past week, sending books out to listeners. I've signed a lot of books with messages from Birds with Friends. So I appreciate that. Some people like Swooper as a thing, or like 5 different messages like that. I get DFOP sometimes. So you can get Underdogs, the Emotional Road to Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Eagles Emotional Road to Super Bowl victory, anywhere books are sold. But if you want a signed copy, you can reach out to me and we can work that out. I can't get it to you before Christmas anymore, but I can get it to you. Back to the program at hand. The Cowboys, I've been higher on the Cowboys than I think some others in Philly have been this year. I think they're a good team. I think they're a dangerous team. And I think the Eagles are better. But I like the Cowboys in this spot. I agree with what Bo said. I think the Eagles can move the ball offensively with Gardner Minshew. I think Minshew is a capable quarterback, especially, as a short-term solution. He's playing with good weapons around him. They have Goddard back. He has A.J. Brown, which he did not have last year. But ultimately, I think the Cowboys' ability to run the ball, they're playing at home. It's a short week. It's a game that, it's emotionally charged for both teams, I imagine. And I also think even though the Eagles have said what they've said publicly, they know that they could see the Cowboys. And I don't think they're going to empty the cupboard. I really don't. As much as they say 1 week at a time, yada, 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 this is a team that doesn't play their starters in the preseason. This is a team that sat their guys in week 18 last year for the most part, right? When the seeding, and I know they haven't taken care of business yet, but this is an analytically driven organization that understands when you're 98%, when there's a 98% chance of something occurring, it's very likely that it's occurring. And so I think the Eagles are going to be competitive and try to win this game, but I also don't think you're going to see their whole bag of tricks. I'm going Cowboys winning, Eagles covering. Cowboys 24, Eagles 23.
How does that happen?
How does it happen? Okay.
Is it a Cowboys like game winning field goal, or is it an Eagles drive fails at the end?
I think an Eagles drive. I think an Eagles drive fails at the end. Yeah,
Micah
the Eagles come up a
Parsons
little short at the end. Yep.
What a tough week for Gardner. All right, that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends.
A marathon one.
Actually, before we go, we don't have an official announcement about this yet, but it's the holiday season. Marissa, what is are you able to pull up the
I
total?
just had it up, actually, just checking to make sure we didn't have any new ones. We have made on Cameo that we are donating all to charity to be determined by you guys, a charity in Philadelphia.
Actually, the three of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to split it up 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. We discussed that at lunch today. We're telling you now.
To donate to the charity.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yes.
But we're all going to pick
We're
charities.
thinking 3 charities, but yeah.
Oh, 3 charities. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. $721.07.
Not bad.
On behalf of all the sickos who have bought cameos, thank you so much. And it is all going to go to great causes in Philadelphia. So we're very excited to do that. And we hope we made your birthdays, your masters, your what were some other ones? Christmas, very special.
And I would say too, I haven't run this by Bo and Marissa yet, but if you want to get in at the current rate, I would say get in now, because we might have to raise that in the new year. So
that's right.
Just something to think about. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Zach's we're gonna decide on our charities. Zach's perusing the employee handbook to make sure. I think his suggestion he wants a DeSantis thing, but I'm not sure that Marissa and I will agree to that.
Bo, that's ridiculous. Stop that, Bo. Okay,
stop that, Bo. I mean, you are flying to Florida this weekend. We know why.
To see my family. Jeez.
All right, so that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. For EJ and Zach and Marissa, I'm Bo. We thank you for listening. We will talk to you late on Christmas Eve. Thanks
For those who don't
listening
watch, or listen on Christmas Eve, I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday season, and thank you for supporting us all year long.
and Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. Yep.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, we love you.